Hi guys, Kaveh Saidi here. I'm here with another video, except this time it's a camera review. So if you came here for violin stuff, you're out of luck. You can either unsubscribe or go away. This is going to be a camera review about the Canon R8, which I just got. I'm filming myself on it right now. I got a lav mic on. I got a big dumb light right here, right next to my head, and we're recording in 4K, I think 24 or whatever. What I wanted to show you is that I had a good experience with this camera today. Took it out for some shots at the Simeone Foundation Car Museum, which I'm going to show you up on the screen. I also have something interesting coming up later where I'm going to show you some comparisons with the Panasonic G95, which I had for about a year, and I had a lot of good lenses for that camera. So stick around to the end and I'll do some comparisons with that. Why don't we jump right in and I'll show you my photos. How about that, eh? By the way, while I do this, what you're going to see with the Canon R8 is that it tracks my head. See that? And it's focusing on the eye. I got a little white box on my eye, so I'm pretty confident I can turn around and it'll still be focused on me. Also, one thing I failed to mention is that this camera is plugged into USB power. So I'm looking at the battery indicator and it's not going down at all. I got it plugged into a MacBook Pro charger. So from what I understand with this camera, the charger has to be PD rated and it has to have over a certain voltage, whatnot. The Canon one costs like 75 bucks. I'm not paying for it, so I tried my MacBook Pro charger. It's working so far. The camera's not dying. Usually this battery, the LPE17 battery, dies pretty fast, and from a previous shoot that I did with my music stuff, the camera battery died while it was on standby, which was ridiculous. I set up all the cameras and had this camera set up and the battery started flashing red, and I think either was flashing red or died. I might be exaggerating. But just from being on standby and not having recorded at all. So you're going to want a bunch of extra batteries, obviously. By the way, I took my R8 to the Simeone Foundation in Philadelphia today to do some shooting. And they were kind enough to let me shoot. But what I wanted to mention is I had no idea what to expect in terms of the lighting. What you're going to see is at these car museums and car shows that the lighting could be often inconsistent, and I gotta say it was very bad at the Simeone Foundation, although the exhibit itself was amazing, fantastic, beautiful. Thank you so much, Simeone, for letting me film there. But this first shot gives you an indication of the lighting. There's a lot of fluorescent lighting. Well, not a lot. It's very little fluorescent lighting and some bad, skylights that are very far away up in the ceiling. All right, so here we go in Lightroom. I'm going to show you some photos from the day, and don't forget to stick around to the end for some comparisons with the Panasonic G95. What you're looking at right now is one of the better shots I got from the day. This is a photo of some kind of race car, and unfortunately I'm not very educated in these old beautiful cars that the Simeone Foundation has. So the lens I'm using for the day is the 50mm f1.8 lens, and from previous experience I thought maybe shooting at f4 might be good in inconsistent lighting. Here we go. We got my settings 1/125th of a second at f4. Keep in mind there's no stabilization on this camera and lens, so I figured 1/125th or higher might be good enough to freeze motion, and it seems like it did. I think I'm focused on the American emblem here on this old-timey vehicle. ISO's at 8,000, and this is a giant 27-inch screen, and the noise itself doesn't seem to bother me very much. Going on to this shot of the grill at 1.8, which seems a little bit too much in terms of aperture for a shot like this. Got it down to f4, and I don't know if you can notice that it cleans up pretty nicely. Maybe f5.6 or f8 might have been better, but as I said before, the lighting's terrible, so maybe outdoors f5.6 or f8 might be good. Even with an ND, might work. Going on, a lot of dad shots, pretty much snapshotty stuff. I don't feel like I got any keepers from the day, but this just gives you an example of what to expect. Another shot at 1/25th at f4, ISO 10,000, which on my Panasonic G95 would be unacceptable at 10,000, but here noise is fine really, and you could use some noise reduction in post if you wanted to. Another example here of a shot at f1.8, ISO 3200, f5.6, 25,000. I'd say this is probably the upper limit in this specific situation, but the noise itself doesn't really bother me. If this were postcard sized, I think it would be fine. If this were on the internet, you know, if you were sending this to your friend saying, hey, look at this car I saw, it would be fine. But as an artistic shot, I don't think this is going to cut it. So going to this third picture, f2.8, I think this works a little bit better compared to 1.8, and let me show you the difference right there. That's 1.8, a little bit dreamy in the hindquarters of the car, and here a little bit more cleaned up. And I don't know if you could tell that f2.8 compared to f1.8, that the corners brighten up quite a bit at f2.8 on this 50mm 1.8 cheap lens, but pretty good. And a little sharpness test, because we all love sharpness tests, don't we, on the camera reviews. We got 50mm 1.8, 2.8, and 5.6. Somehow there was a bookcase in this museum featuring, I guess, a bunch of material about automobiles, but luckily it was there so we could use it for this sharpness test. So f1.8, you can see I focused pretty much in the center with tracking, and yes, the corners are blurry. I don't know if you could tell right there, corners blurry. Okay, a little bit blurry, but acceptably sharp, because you're not really going to be looking at the corners too much when you got a subject in the middle. And f2.8, you can see from f1.8 to f2.8 the corners brighten up considerably. f2.8 corners a little bit sharper. Let's go back to 1.8. Yep, you can see a little bit blurrier. And jumping over to 5.6, corners brighten up quite a bit and sharpen up a lot. So 5.6 definitely is where this lens wants to be. This bookcase was lit up by these little bitty lights that you can see right here. Can you believe it? And the lens picked it up well, the camera picked it up well. And going back to f5.6, I don't know if you care about this noise right here. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all compared to the amount of noise that you would see on a Micro Four Thirds camera like the G95. And we're going on. Again, another beautiful shot of that, those skylights. I guess they look like they're wrapped in diapers or something, but we're going to move on to some snapshotty stuff, which, as I said before, I didn't feel like I got any keepers out of this, because pretty much all the cars were behind these ropes. I couldn't get a position that I liked. I couldn't get head on with any of the cars from a low angle. So I had to figure out kind of a solution and you know, just get some photography practice in, basically. So 50mm 1/25th, lighting a little bit better in the scene, f4.0, ISO 2000, seems fine as a snapshot. And f11 at ISO 16,000. I think I wanted to try to get everything in focus, and this would be pretty much comparable to something you could get out of a smartphone, but does the trick. Yeah, a little bit of noise that a smartphone would probably cover up, but definitely a little bit more detail in the R8 as opposed to a smartphone. All right, moving on. This nice red, I think it's a, what is it? A Bizzarini V12 Lamborghini engine, 4-liter, 336 horsepower, 1,500 pounds. So that's quite a fast car for being a, what is it? What year is this? 1965. That's pretty fast for 65. All right, nice. Happy with this. Shot it at f4, ISO 3200. Don't worry, there's jokes coming up. So, Bizzarini looks good as a snapshot. All right, got a wheel and a tire at 50mm, 1/25. f4, ISO 10,000, quite high, but as you can see here, the noise doesn't really stick out to me. I mean, this is blown up quite a bit, and this is pretty much the full height of my 27-inch Mac screen, and noise doesn't bother me at all. If this were on Instagram or, printed out, 5x7 would be fine. And the car that I was here for, the 66 Corvette 427 Stingray, 425 horsepower, got 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds, 1966. Very nice car. Couldn't get an angle because of this rope here, but I thought I would just show you that I think I focused on the Corvette symbol right in the middle. A little bit of noise at f4, ISO 3200 here, 1/25. But it's fine. I think after some editing, this would be fine. A little bit dull in terms of lighting. f5.6 sharpens up the hindquarters a little bit compared to f4, 5.6, f4, and f1.8 is entirely too dreamy. A lot of this area is blurred, and the windshield is blurred, and the windshield is blurred here. So you might be interested to know how I focused on the car. I did set the camera to not auto tracking, but vehicle tracking. It's something you might be confused by when you go into the menu. Do not set your camera to auto tracking when you're shooting autos. You know what I'm talking about? You want to set it to vehicle tracking. Little photography, automotive joke there. And what it was doing, and I can show you, is pretty much, it would put like a kind of a square box on the front quarter, front third of the car, and I couldn't really get it to do anything else when I had the extended tracking on other aspects of the car. Okay, so I wanted to show you this one shot at f4, ISO 6400, 1/25. Kind of a low angle. I think this angle works a little bit better at f4. Remember 1.8 versus f4. I think f4 looks much better for this situation. f1.8, way too dreamy for shooting cars. You want to see a lot more of the body of the car. I wish I could shoot f5.6 or f8, but not enough light here. So this is the shot I got, and let me show you a little bit of that autofocus action going on. I think this was wide area mode.
What's autofocus wide? No subject selection.
Yeah, wide, no subject selection, and does a great job of picking up that grill. Fantastic autofocus on this R8, amazing. Moving on to the shot of the same automobile. Here we go at f1.8, ISO 800, 5.6, all pretty much at 1/25th of a second, 5.6, and f8, also f10, ISO 20,000, and there's a little bit of noise with this. Does not bother me at all. Looking at the screen at this size, remember it's 27-inch Mac that I'm using, it doesn't bother me. Noise here at f8, definitely acceptable, ISO 12,000. Maybe the upper limit of what's printable. And f5.6, ISO 6400, fine. That noise in the corner is really fine. And you could use noise reduction if you want, but I'm not going to. Try not to use noise reduction at all. Yeah, my daughter's watching me right now saying it's a little bit boring at this point, so I got to spice it up. Let's spice it up. Ready for some spice. Oh, by the way, plugged into my MacBook Pro charger. One bar has gone down. I've been recording for 27 minutes. And let's take a look at that Panasonic G95 with, I had a 15mm 1.7, I had a 25mm 1.7, I had a 42mm 1.7, and I also had a, 12 to 60, 2.8 to f4. Yeah, cameras, which I traded all that stuff in for this system. You know, I probably lost some money, but I'm more concerned about noise performance, autofocus, and just general ease of use. And besides the battery life in this R8, I think the ease of use of this camera is fantastic. But let's compare it to some shots from the G95. And hopefully this is still recording. You're going to see some edited shots, and I'll quickly scan through a couple of these. f4, 1/25th, ISO 2500. This is another, this is actually the Philadelphia Car Show a couple weeks ago. Nice bokeh with 60 millimeters. That would be the zoom lens, 2.8 to f4. Another nice shot. Happy with a lot of these. I had a lot more time at the car show to get up close. You could get up real close to a lot of the cars. A lot of the ropes were very low, and the lighting was a touch better, but not good at all, in my opinion. But after editing these photos quite a bit, I was able to pull some nice colors. You could see the colors before and after. Before and after. You can get some good colors out of this Panasonic G95 if you're shooting RAW, and obviously I'm shooting RAW pretty much all the time. Nice shot of a buggy. Got a 57 Chevy here. A little bit too much bokeh. This is the, what is it, the 42mm portrait lens at 1.7 ISO 320, which is quite nice. You can't really, I want to say after looking at a bunch of these, you can't really tell that this is shot on a Micro Four Thirds camera, besides when you get to fast action. So this scene right here is, I was in a bad spot, backlit, no flash, trying to get these demo cars that were being driven by people visiting the show. I was trying to get these in focus, and I must have shot about 100 shots, and not a single one was in focus because of the poor tracking on the G95. So the fatal flaw of the G95, it's the autofocus for fast-moving subjects, portraits, you know, still shots, whatever. Anything that's not moving fast, I think you'll be fine. But if you want to shoot anything that's moving fast, you're going to have to shoot a lot of shots before you get anything in focus. This guy was backlit, and at f4 on the zoom lens, ISO 1000, I think this is fine, really. A lot of these are snapshotty. Happy with this one. Good colors. This is the before and the after on the Panasonic G95. This is the portrait lens, 42.5mm at 1.7. And I was happy with that, getting the middle car in focus. Nothing spectacular. Maybe this is nice. This is again the 42.5 portrait lens. Got some reflections of people in the background. Going back to the R8, I did have a chance to do some portraits of my wife and kids a few weeks ago, but I don't want to put their faces up on the screen. I'll put a shot of me. How about that? And just look at that. This is the before and after. Really straight out of camera. The R8 does a great job. Not a lot of editing in post. If you look at my edits, pretty much bringing down a little bit of the highlights. And just, I don't think I increased the saturation. I forget what I did with this. I think I used hot lights just like I'm using right now. And I'm really happy with the quality of this camera. Eyes are nice and sharp. And seem to focus on the eye. Maybe a little bit ahead of the eye. Not quite sure there. Yeah, this is at f2.0. I think it's a little bit too wide open for a portrait. Maybe should have shot at f4. And ISO was 100 though, so super clean on the 85mm f2 lens. Pretty happy with that. Not happy with this haircut. And not happy with whatever's going on underneath my chin. I probably should have lit that differently. What have we learned here today? Well, I've learned that I can do it. I can make. We've learned that
my dad is talented.
I'm very talented. I can do camera reviews, people. So if you like what you saw here today, you can come back. Maybe I'll do a camera review next year. So you're going to have to wait 12 months for that, or I might do a Violin video in about 3 months, or who knows when I'll make something. You know, I'm busy, people. I got a family and a job. You can't expect me to work for free, okay? Subscribe if you want to. I really don't care.
Make him famous.
Yeah, make me famous. That's what my daughter wants. I just hope you got I hope you had some fun today. I got a little bit of photography practice, so I'm happy with that, and we'll see you later. Ready for my outro? Ready for my outro? I invented this shot. Ready?